Replacing a garbage disposal is an easy DIY project you can do in under an hour and save hundreds of dollars. In this video, I'm going to show you some fixes to look for before replacing your disposal. Then I'm going to show you exactly how I replaced this one. And I'm going to tell you the one thing that some people miss, that if you do, it is a huge mistake. This video is sponsored by the Home Depot. All right, here's the unit I'll be replacing, and it is a chunky boy. Now, before you run off and spend some money on a new disposal, here's the two things that you should check. If the disposal is just not coming on, it's not making any noises, go check the breaker box and look for the breaker for the disposal. If the breaker is not tripped, go ahead and flip it off and then back on. Come back and see if that has changed anything. Most people don't know this, but on most garbage disposals, there's actually a little breaker on the disposal. So if you look around for it, there should be a little red reset button. I'll show you where it is right on this one. Go ahead and click that, and it may come right back on, and you may be back in business. Now, if cycling the power and hitting the reset button did not work, there is one more thing that you can do, and that is if you have a jammed up disposal. So sometimes there's something that's just caught inside there, and maybe it's just not letting things spin, and so it's just overloading. Now, not all garbage disposals have this feature, but a lot of them will have on the underside a little hex socket, and your garbage disposal may have come with a hex wrench, which I'm sure you have lost by now, but that's okay. You just need to find a matching hex wrench, and you can put it into the little socket there, and then you can manually turn the motor in the garbage disposal. So if something is just stuck in there and it just needs a little extra torque, you can use that wrench to try to loosen it up and set it free. So those are two things that you definitely want to check out before you dive in and spend the money on getting a new one. Now, every setup is going to be a little bit different, but for ours, I've got a dual sink here. So there's going to be an exit pipe coming out that runs into the P-trap that's on the other side for the sink without the disposal. And then up top, you have this other connection here, and that is for the dishwasher drain. So the dishwasher actually drains into the garbage disposal, flows through it, and out the pipes. And then the last thing you'll have is a power cord that is connected into an outlet over here. So those are the three connections that we need to deal with, and we'll go ahead and start getting those pulled off. First things first, I'm gonna disconnect the power, and I have a plug, but you may have a hardline power. In that case, you wanna make sure you find the proper breaker, flip that off, and then you can disconnect it. There is going to be water in this P-trap, so you can put a bucket under there, but unfortunately, this bucket is too big. So this is a cool little trick. You can actually just get a little sandwich bag and put it underneath there, then undo it from here. And all the water should go in the bag. Once those are loose, you can just pry them off. Ooh, that's nice. And now we're just going to disconnect the disposal from the main drain line here. So you might have to wiggle this around a little bit. Now you may or may not have a dishwasher drain line in here, but if you do, then you can just disconnect that with a flathead screwdriver. All right, the disposal is totally disconnected now, and all we have to do is remove it from the sink. Most of the models I've seen have a screw-on connection. This one actually just has a hose clamp holding it in place. Now, we do have also a water line underneath there. So what you don't want to do is just let this thing go and have it drop down, because this thing, it's not light, and it could hit the water line and cause some problems. So just grab something from around the house to put underneath it. I've got a little box of trash bags I'm going to put right underneath this, and this will keep it from falling down and hitting that water line. All right, I've got this hose clamp loosened up. Now I can just wiggle this out, and here it comes. All right, I can move this guy out and grab our new one. Now, if you're replacing with the same model, you can probably leave your flange in, but I need to take this one out because we'll be putting a new one in. And again, this is just a flathead screwdriver holding this in. Here's the replacement disposal. This is the Glacier Bay Turbo Grind Max, and this is an upgrade to 1 horsepower from the 3/4 horsepower that the last one is. This one also has a nice compact design. So we're gonna gain back a little bit more space here under the sink so that we can store some other things. There's a lot of other cool options that this has. It's got a 12-year warranty, and it also is really easy to install. So I talked about some of these disposals having the screw-on locking mechanism, and that's exactly what this one has. So if you actually already have one that has this screw-on easy attach method, you could just replace this straight away, and you wouldn't even have to attach this new sink collar up here. But since I am installing this, I need to loosen up these screws here so I can separate it. Then we'll get some plumber's putty and get it in place in the sink. All right, so to separate the sink flange from the mount, there's a little retainer ring that holds that in place. You just need to put your screwdriver right on top of there, and then you can just push it down. And that'll free it up, and you can take it right off. And now you can separate the flange to install that up top. We've got the little gasket, and this will go underneath the sink. Now to install your sink flange, you want to make sure that the sink is nice and clean. Then we'll get some plumber's putty so that we can make a seal under the flange. And don't worry about using too much here. It'll squeeze out and you can just remove any excess later. So we're gonna put this in place. We'll have our nice Glacier Bay logo facing the right direction. And I'm just gonna pre-squish this down a bit. All right, now we're gonna go with our fiber gasket first, then our support flange, and the upper mount ring. And to put the support ring on, it's kind of easier just to get up under it. All right, now we just tighten down our screws and that'll lock everything together. So before we install, there's a few things we need to do to the disposal. So you can see right here, it says, important, must use the enclosed screw set, so do not try to reuse any of the old components from one of the units that you're taking out. So I'll go ahead and remove this guy. And this is the down pipe that comes with it. And if you are using just a single sink, then this will be perfect. This can go down and go straight into your P-trap. But for me, we're going across since we have a double sink install, and I'm gonna be going horizontal like the other one was. So what I need to do is take off this gasket and transfer it over to this extension tube. So I'm gonna just pull this right off. Now I can take that and put it on the extension tube that goes horizontal, and I'll just put it in there so it fits right in that groove. And if you switch this out, make sure you put it on the right way. You want the skinny end here. This top surface is a little bit smaller than this bottom surface. You can see the angle kind of comes in that way, and that'll make sure it forms a good seal. And back over here, before I install that, here is the part that a lot of people miss. This is for my dishwasher drain. So my dishwasher is going to drain into this, but there is a plug here and you have to knock that out. If you don't knock it out, then your dishwasher will flood itself. You don't want that. So you can use a little punch or something. I'm just going to use this wrench here. And so that plug came out. I'm going to reach in here because we are unplugged. So that's the little guy you want to make sure that you knock out, because if you don't, you will have a flooded kitchen because your dishwasher won't be able to drain. Now I can put my mounting hardware onto this guy and attach this with the included bolts. All right, now we are ready to install. And I'm just gonna put this guy in here and slide up the little screw-on connect right into this flange. You wanna make sure that it gets on all three of them as well. And we're gonna just tighten this up with a screwdriver until it goes all the way over as much as you can get it. When you go to start reinstalling your connections, sometimes it's not gonna fit. So this will not go up far enough to fit onto here because of the little piece inside. So I need to cut this little extension down. So you might have to mess with your drain lines a little bit to get everything to fit, but this is all really easy to work with. We're gonna use these flush cutters to cut off a bit. All right, so public service announcement. Do not use ratcheting PVC cutters on this little thin wall PVC or this will happen. Instead, get yourself a little PVC saw. You can also use any type of hacksaw, or you can even potentially cut it on a miter saw. Just be careful with it. But yeah, I did that just so you guys could see what not to do. Just helping you guys out. All right, now let's see if we can get this to play nicely together. While you're reinstalling this is a great time to just clean up these pipes, get all the gunk off of them, clean out your P-trap, make sure that you're not going to get any clogs or leaks. Now we can make the connection for the drain line for the dishwasher here. Before we button this up and start testing everything out, there's one more thing I'm going to add up here to this sink mount. And this is one of the coolest features about this Glacier Bay model, I think. And this is this row of magnets. This is a magnetic catch, and it goes on the outside here. And basically, if you drop something metallic down into the disposal, it's gonna catch it so it doesn't go all the way down. It will catch it right in the neck. That is such a cool feature. I love that. I will test that out here in a minute, but let me get this installed. It just goes right around inside of the threads here for the screws. And then it just snaps in place. All right, here's that squeezed out plumber's putty, and we can just ball that up and put it back in the container. Now, the cool thing about this Turbo Grind Max, it does have a removable baffle, so we can put this right down in here, but that goes above the chamber. The chamber's huge, it's 30.2 ounces, and it also has antimicrobial technology in there, and on top of that, it has a lifetime warranty against corrosion, so that's pretty awesome. So we can stick this guy down in there. If we ever need to clean it, we can just pop it right back out. So that's pretty cool, but also I want to check out how that magnetic catch works out. So let's see what happens. But it definitely catches the spoon. How cool is that? So the magnetic catch is pretty cool. Now, it's not going to just stop things from just flying down there if you have a heavy spoon like that, but for little small items, I'm wondering if you dropped like a little screw, if you were working with something on the side of the sink and it dropped in there, it could catch it before it gets down in there while it's grinding. So cool little feature, but the baffle really just helps keep things out anyway. Let's go ahead and run some water and test it out. Before we plug it in and test the disposal, I want to check for leaks in the plumbing. Go ahead and check this out. And that side looks good. Let's test out the disposal. Everything looked leak-free, so I'm gonna go ahead and plug it in and we can test out the motor. All right, I'm gonna get the water going. Ooh, that's quiet. Installing the disposal is as easy as that. If you want more information on the Glacier Bay Turbo Grind Max, there's a link down below in the description. And a big thank you to Home Depot for sponsoring today's video. If you want to see 3 easy ways to increase the storage in your kitchen, I got the video queued up for you right there. I'm Brad. Until next time, get out there and build something awesome.